Everybody out there, there's people telling you can't do it, or you're the underdog, or telling you told you're not good enough. I've been told that my whole life, and I'm the world champ. If I can do it, you can do it.
Some fighters are born prodigies. Others are physical specimens. But a few are forged from a lifetime of pressure and fire. This is the story of the man who paid the cost to be the boss. In this video, we will look at just how this ugly lump of coal became the flawless gemstone he is today. The man who came from the bayou and made it all the way to the big stage. This is the story of Dustin Poirier, the diamond in the rough. In the beginning of his career, the Diamond's style hadn't quite taken form yet. He marched forward with no footwork, his punches were rarely thrown straight, he had virtually no defensive fundamentals whatsoever. This forced Dustin to rely on the only redeeming attributes he did have, an unmatched toughness and unstoppable grit. He used these abilities to grind opponents down, utilizing a barrage of sloppy haymakers as his choice of technique. He clearly wasn't a Golden Gloves boxer or a D1 wrestler, but he did have the gumption to stand toe-to-toe with anyone in the world. Poirier would rack up a series of wins. His dog-like determination set him apart, and the UFC brass started to take note. But unfortunately, this ain't jazz, and heart and soul can only take you so far in prize fighting. Dustin found this out the hard way when he ran into who would be the biggest rival of his career, Conor McGregor.
Don't get me wrong, I like the kid. He's a quiet little hillbilly from the back ass of nowhere. A gust of wind and he does the chicken dance, you know what I mean? I'm sure he grew up in a circus or a fair, you know, he's a nice little kid. Dustin thinks it's all talk, but when he wakes up with his nose plastered on the other side of his face, he's gonna know it's not all talk.
Conor did what he always did so well. He got into Dustin's head and played on the emotions of the silly hillbilly. You could tell it was taking its toll, as Poirier grew visibly more angry with each encounter. When the time arrived, Dustin was dwarfed by the moment, and clearly at a technical and athletic deficit with Conor. He couldn't match McGregor's movement. He hardly got a shot off before Conor found the distance. He brutally bounced Dustin's pea head off the canvas in the first round, a loss that seemed like it would forever tarnish the shine of El Diamante. He went back to the drawing board. He realized just how much of a gap there was between himself and the best in the world. He hired a new boxing coach and got to work. Incorporating a more bladed stance with his planted, squared-up stance, he shifted between these stances more without throwing the entire time, allowing him to cut guys off easier against the fence. He shortened his punches up to reduce his exposure to counters as well, picking his shots in precise, clean combinations to both body and head. He also decided to stop making the cut to 145 and embrace that inner chunky child of his past to fight at his natural weight of 155. But the most important development may have been his defensive improvements. In the fight with Max Holloway, Dustin would put these improvements on full display. What would become a patented technique of the Diamond? Dustin deployed the Stonewall guard against Max. This guard looks similar to a Philly shell, but with an exaggerated emphasis on pointing the elbows. This guard weaponizes the user's defense against attacks, leaving the attacker vulnerable to damaging his own hands and feet on the sharp-edged guard. With Dustin's shell being harder to penetrate than a daggum gator hide, Max would actually comment on this problem mid-fight. It was a gritty war, with both men scarred for life after. The combination of Dustin's precise punches and his impenetrable guard was just too much for Max. This led to the fulfillment of his lifelong dream, champion of the world. An interim title perhaps, but a title nonetheless. The diamond was finally finished and shining.
I've got knocked down, I've climbed back up. Like I said before, man, this is my belt. I earned this in blood. I paid in full. This is mine.
Dustin would go on to come up short against the undisputed champ at the time, Khabib Nurmagomedov. But at this point, adversity was nothing new for the Lafayette native. He bounced back immediately with a win over New Zealand psychopath Dan Hooker in another Fight of the Night performance. This would set him up for what I consider his career-defining moment in a rematch long in the making with Conor McGregor. The build-up was a complete 180 from the first one. Conor, having his first of many identity crises, was unusually cordial with Dustin. That did little to change the outcome, though. Conor started out strong, and it seemed like he just had the kryptonite for Dustin's style. But this new, mature Dustin wouldn't overreact like before. He had a new recipe and a plan to serve Conor a steaming bowl of jambalaya. In an absolutely historic moment, he put the Irishman out with a brilliant stance switch hook, cementing his diamond-bright legacy once and for all.
Not McGregor fast, McGregor sleep.
McGregor would try to take revenge, but Dustin's voodoo juju was just too strong at this point. The fight was anticlimactic and pathetic for Conor. The Diamond would seal the deal on their trilogy and go on to pursue more fighting greatness. He would fall short in his next attempt at the title after almost knocking out Charles Oliveira. This would lead to what is my personal favorite Poirier fight against Michael Chandler. Dustin spoke of his healthy fear of Chandler. Win or lose, nobody made it out of a Michael Chandler fight unscathed. He had just recently banished Tony to the Shadow Realm, and Chandler was the D1 wrestler Dustin wasn't. He was also the athlete Dustin wasn't, and he definitely had the neck veins Dustin didn't. The fight started fast and violent, typical of a Chandler spectacle. With the mentality of a full-grown bull with late-stage syphilis, he charged forward mindlessly, throwing caution to the wind. If not for that refined Stonewall guard, Dustin may have met the same fate as Dan Hooker. Dustin weathered the storm of Iron Mike's first assault. He measured every strike and calculated the speeds perfectly. It was as if he was seeing the younger version of himself in there against Chandler. The once reckless fighter timed a beautiful counter, proving technique over force. The final blows of the round took a fight-changing toll on Chandler. But it would take more than that to put this red heifer down. Chandler would employ every heel tactic he could in practice for his WWE career. Back of the head strikes, fish hooking Dustin, even blowing his bloody nose in Dustin's face. All the dirt and brawn couldn't save Chandler that night, though. In one last desperate attempt at practicing the wrong sport, he hoisted Dustin up for an F5, only to be reversed at the moment of impact. Dustin would show off his thug jitsu skills y'all must have forgot, and choke the beast out once and for all. Another feather in the Diamond's cap. This would be one of Dustin's final 6 fights. 2 of them earned Fight of the Night honors, 2 of them were for the BMF belt, and 2 of them were for the Undisputed Championship. A pinnacle that would sadly elude Dustin his entire career. For the first time in a Hall of Fame-worthy resume, Poirier has now lost 2 fights in a row. He finally laid the gloves down and retired. He might not have won an undisputed title, but in an era where the legitimacy of that belt can be very easily disputed, I don't think it matters much for Poirier. What can never be disputed is the fact Dustin took the hardest path possible in MMA with the least amount of natural talent and rose to the highest levels of the sport. Titles come and go, but diamonds are forever.
I'm forever in debt to the fans, the company, Mixed Martial Arts.